a strange, never-ending search that goes on every day in every American city. Every hour of every day, someone disappears, drops from sight, vanishes. Where do they go? What happens to them? Special police units like the New York Missing Persons Bureau work night and day to find the answers. Here, a daily stream of supplicants come to tell their stories of husbands, sons, daughters who are missing. The reports flood in at the rate of 1,000 a month, 12,000 a year. Each new case is a separate problem, another challenge for the experts of the Bureau. But the story of a distraught mother whose son has vanished is a familiar one to Captain John Cronin, commander of the Bureau. What to her is a unique and disturbing tragedy falls into a well-established pattern for Captain Cronin. He knows that the majority of missing persons are juveniles, and he knows that all the whys and wherefores of their disappearance have been carefully analyzed and exactly charted. He can tell you when your child is most likely to run away, in May and September. 15 is the peak age for juvenile disappearances, and he knows in advance why youngsters vanish. Distaste for school, difficulties in the classroom with teacher or with studies is the #1 cause that sends boys off on the runaway trail. The strife of parents is the second main cause for childhood disappearance, the urge to break away from a broken home. And the old call of the open road, adventure, is the third cause. Johnny won't be among the missing long. His runaway road will be short. 99% come back. But with vanishing grown-ups, the problem is more complicated. The causes more deep-seated. A life grown intolerable. An incurable illness, perhaps. A last phone call of farewell, and then oblivion, and another case for the Missing Persons Bureau. Or sudden disgrace, and a man disappears into a jail cell. But at the Missing Persons Bureau, tragedy and heartbreak are coldly reduced to index cards. Coldly but efficiently. Many of the missing are traced through the filing system. Here's the report of an unknown white male, an unidentified patient in a city hospital. His mind damaged by accident or alcohol, unable to give his own name. To family and friends, he is a missing person. But the cards reunite him with his identity. One card describes a missing John Smith. The description matches that of the unknown hospital patient. So Mr. Smith is no longer missing. Abandoned wives, the lure of the other woman, account for thousands of missing every year. Missing husbands. But abandonment is a crime, and the Missing Persons Bureau does not chase criminals. Other arms of the law take over where actual crime is involved. Special investigators send out tracers on wandering husbands, use the nationwide police network to track down their quarry. When word comes in that a missing husband has been located, he's pinpointed on the map. And when the husband picks up his mail in some far-off city, he finds a loitering stranger on hand to provide a personal escort back home again to the wife and kiddies. Today, the records show that more than 98% of all disappearances are solved. To vanish and stay vanished is almost impossible. Almost, but not quite. For there are cases which never have been solved, legends in the lore of the missing. Dorothy Arnold, for instance. One day in 1910, she stepped out of a Fifth Avenue shop and vanished utterly. Whether she is alive or dead, nobody knows. Or William Ferry. One afternoon in 1935, he visited his wife's grave. He left the cemetery, never to be seen again. And most baffling of all, Joseph Force Crater, Justice of the State Supreme Court. No trace of the vanished judge has ever been found. There is another class of the missing, the nameless drifters of the shadowy streets. Ignored by society in life, they become enigmas in death, nameless, homeless, friendless. Who was he? No one cared when he was alive, but now society takes steps to find out. The task here is not to find a missing person, but to discover a missing identity. The corpse must be identified for the records and to trace relatives, if any. The Missing Persons Bureau identifies 10,000 unknown dead every year through fingerprinting and other methods developed by specialists who are sleuths of the morgue, detectives of the dead. Of the small percentage that cannot be identified, exact records and pictures are kept to be referred to for years to come. The picture file is open to the public. Many a long search for a missing relative ends in final certainty here. The grim gallery of the doubly missing, both unknown and dead. In any large city, the tale of the missing is told in many ways, and suicide is one of them. Not a day passes that someone doesn't disappear finally and irrevocably, cutting himself off not only from family and friends, but from life itself. In the waters adjacent to New York alone, more than 200 bodies are found every year. Special crews of the harbor police are assigned to the gruesome business of grappling in the depths for missing corpses. And every suicide is of interest to the Missing Persons Bureau. It may close out a case in the files. The clothing left behind in this suicide interests Captain Cronin particularly. He has noted something. A precinct report of a missing girl reveals what might be a link to the suicide. The missing girl was wearing the same kind of clothes as were found on the bridge. Did the missing girl commit suicide? To find out, Captain Cronin begins by showing the clothes to the parents of the missing girl. And the worst seems to be confirmed. Yes, she was wearing those when she disappeared. Then the detective hears a familiar story. Poor marks in high school, stern parental punishment, bitter quarrels, a home life that became intolerable to the girl. Motive enough for running away, perhaps, but suicide. The detective wonders if Edith Martins, age 16, was the type to do away with herself. Human nature is Captain's specialty, and to learn more about the nature of this particular human named Edith Martins, he asks to examine her room. He's particularly interested in the girl's clothes closet. Has anything been removed? Yes, the mother confirms his suspicion. Edith's best suit and dress are gone. People who intend to kill themselves do not take extra clothing with them. And how about the girl's personal trinkets, her prized possessions? Again, the detective's hunch is confirmed. She took them along, too. Captain Cronin decides to probe further and asks the name of Edith's high school. Sometimes there are more clues to a child's character at school than at home, and often a school teacher knows more about a child than the parents. The detective learns that the girl's school record was bad, that she was flighty and unstable. Her locker is examined for possible leads. In this private domain, there may be some hint as to what happened to Edith Martins. And he finds something, a book on how to be a model. Neither teacher nor parent suspected such leanings in plain Edith Martins, but the evidence is there. The modeling story is confirmed by Edith's best friend. Sure, Edith came here to practice being a glamour girl, kept a secret makeup kit so her parents wouldn't know. A few more questions, and Captain Cronin makes up his mind. The suicide was a hoax. For the police, Edith Martins is now a runaway, a missing person, whereabouts unknown. The drowning was a fake to throw off pursuit. So a message goes out to all receivers with Edith Martin's full description. Bus and railroad stations and airports are alerted for the missing girl. Neighboring states are notified by radio, and so are state police. In addition, the Missing Persons Bureau has its own radio broadcasts to the public at large. And nationwide, the girl's picture and description are included in the FBI bulletin, which reaches all chiefs of police. The Missing Persons Network makes Edith Martins famous in a way she never planned. But the search concentrates on New York's extensive model industry, which annually lures thousands of girls with beauty for sale. Missing persons always gravitate to areas where their principal interests lie. So Captain Cronin begins a patient canvass of the scores of model schools and agencies where Edith Martins may have applied. Every aspiring model leaves a glamour photo of herself with an agency to attract clients. Captain Cronin hopes to trace Edith Martin through such a photo, even though she will have changed her name, hairdo, and general appearance. Fly-by-night model outfits prey on innocent and unwary girls, and the detective's job is to find Edith Martins before she gets into serious trouble. Though none of the photos correspond to the snapshot of Edith Martins, some of them strike a faint chord. The detective plays a hunch based on his knowledge of what a beauty photographer can do to glamorize even the plainest woman. He's got an idea, and he'll follow it through. A police artist is consulted, and Captain Cronin explains his scheme. If a photographer can beautify a woman beyond recognition, perhaps an artist can reverse the process by removing the disguise of glamour to reveal the original underneath. Sometimes beauty is only lens deep. After days of painstaking work, the artist has the pictures ready for inspection. At first, the comparison with Edith Martin's snapshot seems fruitless. That's not her, and neither is that. But the third one is the payoff. Skillful retouching has converted the glamour face into its frowsy original. The name on the back is a phony, but the address should be accurate. And it's not an attractive neighborhood that the address leads the detective to. If this is where Edith Martin's aspiring model is living, she cannot be getting many calls for her services to pose as a cover girl and advertising siren. Yes, Edith Martin's, if she's here, has come a long way from the home and security she was so eager to flee. She's behind in her rent and hasn't been out of her room for days. Edith, all right, at the end of her glamour trail, trying to make her suicide hoax a reality with sleeping pills. Broke, discouraged, ashamed to go home. A hurry call for an ambulance, and Captain Cronin's work is almost done. And Edith Martins is no longer among the missing. As with thousands of others who have tried running out on their daily routine, the chances are that once back home, she will stay there, having found that far pastures look greener only from a distance. But if it was all near tragedy for the Martins family, it was just routine for the Missing Persons Bureau. Case closed is not a sparkling phrase, but it writes a happy ending.